And today at the Linux Certification Virtual Summit, we have Bruno Guerreiro here with us today from Brazil, actually. Welcome, Bruno. How are you?
Hi guys and girls, I'm fine.
Great,
Really.
great. So tell me, who is Bruno?
Okay, Bruno is a professional and passionate for technology and innovation initiatives. It has 12 years experience, primarily focused on security and mostly with Unix or Linux related technologies. Uh, I guess I'm a Linux and open source fan, big fan.
Great, great. Just like myself. So that's perfect. And some of our listeners out there, I'm sure they feel the same way as well. So, how did you get introduced into the world of Linux?
Yeah, it was back there at my first job. I was an online support for Amazon Corporation, a local internet service provider here in Brazil. And I realized that some other guys were always discussing about new ideas, new services, new servers, innovation, and I stay really jealous about that. I want to be part of that. And they were responsible for ISP operation, the heart of the ISP service, authentication, mail, web page, internet, and private line service for our local customers. Of course, they use Linux as platform. And I remember like it was yesterday, my first Debian 3.0 installation using newest 2.4 kernel back there. It rocks.
Perfect, perfect. Great. It's always great when you can recall your first version of Linux that you use. Like for
Yeah.
me, it was a CentOS 6, and ever since then, I've been a fan. Great. So, what made you decide specifically to do the LPIC 3, specializing in security?
Yeah, at that job back there from the internet provider, I noticed that I'm too lazy to do any single test more than once. After all, I had too much to learn yet, and can't throw away my time like with recurrent tasks. So I really don't want to anybody to mess around with the things that I've built, and so that was the first time that I realized about security as a operation resilience initiative. So one of the questions that where I get back there is how can I guarantee that anyone won't destroy what I was to build? Simply reducing privilege like the need to know basis and reducing exposition from internal services to custom and public related. So it was back there with operational resiliences initiative, I guess.
Great, great. Sounds good. So, in addition to LPIC 3, how did you gain the amount of experience that you needed before you took the exam?
As I said, back there at the provider, we had to maintain the whole ISP operation and using some operational resilience idea. So we used a lot IP tables, a lot host security commands and projects to get this done. And when I start to study a little more about security, it was quite a same thing for me. It's not quite possible to look for Linux and not look for security for it. Uh,
Perfect. So, hands-on experience. It seems like you
yes.
obtained first. Yeah. So, how did you prepare for the LPIC 3 exam in addition to having hands-on experience?
I guess you can say that we read all the manuals, command manuals and system manuals, and host manuals. For example, Debian and manuals about security, CentOS manuals about security, and practicing it every day is just like to ride a bicycle. You can't ride a bike without get on it and try and take some downs. it's part of it.
Yeah, great, great. So, what was your studying routine also?
Back there, my study routine for LPIC 3 was a little hurry. It take about 45 days since LPI invitation for us to take the beta test that they are just developing. So study became a daily task for at least 3 hours a day. Studying new commands, searching web about real-world cases, practicing on laboratory and online meetings with another test attendant, a friend of mine, Leonardo, and to review and discuss doubts that we had back there. It got to be daily based routine to do this.
Great. So it seems like you said you did 3 hours a day and you had a study buddy as well.
Yes,
Great.
that helped him a lot.
Yes, yes. So how was it studying with a study buddy? Because I know for someone like myself, I tend to just study on my own, but I'm open to having a study buddy. So how was it for you?
That was great because we had a routine. We had a topic subject for that day, for example. We need to today we need to study about network security, IP tables, for example. So we pushed ourselves to study the hardest so we can discuss in a high level. Uh, and of course, we had doubts. So when someone had doubt about one thing, the other support, and then that's the whole spirit. It's like open source. Everybody need to support it.
Yeah, yeah. So you said that you guys you focused on IP tables one day and you wanted to provide a high level overview. How did you practice to give a high level overview after you already realized you knew what you were talking about? How did you kind of, give that high
Uh,
level overview?
yeah, I have to say I'm sorry, Mom. I have to. I really had to take some beta users back there with my mom, my sisters. I think I got my first ISP home office operation. So they need to call for a support. They need to open a ticket for get some page. Open it. It's using family back there.
Okay, that's a great one. I'm going to add that to my toolbox. Perfect. Were there any other specific resources that helped you prepare in addition to, having a study buddy? Was there any books or anything that you read? How did you do that?
Yes, I guess a study buddy it's an idea. Today we got a pretty massive information about security using just to search in Google for it, and others initiatives about open books and open blogs. I'm really fan of some blogs like let me get
Okay.
someone I noted about where are you? Oh my god. uh, I don't know. You got Linux News, Linux Magazine, and Hacker News. These are everything about security. Like I use it a lot. Leaked profiles for companies like Debian, Red Hat, SUSE, Linux Today, News /dot news. That helps a lot about something. For the test itself, it's, for my opinion, best to take the LPI commons reference that we had on the site and to practice on the system using manual as reference. I guess is the best option. So you can know the commands better.
So you said use the man reference that comes in Linux.
Yes,
Okay. Perfect.
mostly.
Yes, yes. Man is a great thing. It's a great page. So before you received your LPIC 3, right after, how long did it take for you to begin studying for your LPIC 3 after you had your LPIC 2? Because from what I understand, you have to have the LPIC 1, the LPIC 2 in order to take the
Yes.
LPIC 3.
It was hurry because when we get any LPI certification, we are invited to be part of LPI main lists. So at the time, LPI was discussing about security certification, about a creation of a security specialization, and so on. So I want to be part of it. I volunteer myself to be part of it, to be part of the question creations, to be part of exempling within world real cases. And because of that, API invited us to take the beta test. So was not a scheduled by myself test, was a imposed test. So API will take the beta test next month. Be ready.
Okay. Great,
Yeah,
great.
and that was great we can uh, uh, to put ourselves in that situation and to get considered very serious about to the study, about if you want to take that test or not.
Okay, good. For the LPIC 3 security exam that you took, are there any particular commands and objectives you made sure you knew in and out before taking the exam?
Yes, mostly based on network security objectives. It was as a ESP provider. That's the most part of our daily basis job. It's about network security, about securing our customers and securing ourselves from customers and for other public. That was the my expertise back there. I guess so.
Okay. Were you focusing on commands like say IP tables, firewalls?
Yes,
Okay.
back there was mostly about IP tables and uh, support a reference for it using patching some models on IP tables, so you get another's options to filter traffic. It was mostly based on network security itself back there. But for test, we had another very important objects with host security, about hardening Linux host, about cryptography. It is a test very interesting about security considerations.
Yeah, great, great. So when you say hardening security, do you mean making sure that everyone doesn't have access to root, or can you
Yeah,
explain a little bit more?
sure. It is secured in the host itself from ourselves eventually. So we had initiatives like Linux, like for Debian example, and Debian and Ubuntu, we have app armor that can prevent at can prevent even the root user to get something. Like example, Windows we have um, in trash, right? So we can recover some files that we deleted incorrectly. At Linux we don't have it. So when you did rm command, you can get the whole system to dev new. So some Mac mandatory access control softwares like Linux, like App Armor, can even protect us from this. It's like an operational resilience and operational security for ourselves. And we have also securing SSH instance to change ports to not authentication within passwords, but within security keys. We have a lot of initiatives to host a Linux, to lock down a Linux box, for example.
Great, great. So you did mention patching a Linux box earlier. Now, what did that entail? Did that entail like installing updates or what exactly?
Patching we can consider as update as well, but we can patch a single component, like we can patch the whole kernel. We can patch a IP tables installation to add some feature, some additional feature that's not included on the box, on the IP tables package, for example. So today, I guess it's not very common, but back there, kernel was really restricted, and some commands are really restricted about IP tables. So we use it a lot. Some patches built by some user on China, some user on India, or some project in the Europe to get better experience with these commands.
Okay, great. Thank you. How did you navigate taking the LPIC 3? Is it hands-on or is it multiple choice?
It's mostly multiple choice, but we get some questions using command experience. For example, the tests give you a situation and ask you what the command appropriate to get that done. So, example, you want to filter traffic for a host that is send you a lot of spurious traffic on the web. How can you do that? What's the command? What's the options? What's the variables that you need to use to get this done? But most of the test is multiple choice based.
Okay. So how difficult is the LPIC 3 exam compared to other Linux certifications that you have?
Every exam has its difficulties. Personally, my hardest exam was from LPC1, because of those topics back there were not my daily duties. So one of my personal tips are you need to use Linux somehow on a daily basis, as a personal workstation or as a server. Anyhow, you need to get on it. So that was difficult for me to take LPYC1, for example, certification using X server, using print servers. That was not on my daily routine. So LPYC3 for me was not very hard because I use it every day. I use these commands every day.
Great. What are some of the commands you use every day from the LPIC 3 exam that you can talk about if you can?
Sure. IP tables, OpenSSL, configurations for Apache, binding as servers, Linux, Nmap, Wireshark, OpenVAS, Snort. That is part of my daily base today for work or for some other initiative, personal.
Sounds fun. All the good stuff, it sounds like. What about Nmap by any chance?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's one of my
Every day.
favorite.
If
Great.
you don't know your network, sure, any map does know.
Yep. This is true. So, how has LPIC 3 impacted your life overall with this certification?
Uh, it was a personal victory for me back there to get certified by a international organization. And firstly, about security, I was I don't remember if I was the first or second security expert for API here in Brazil, and it helped me a lot to get selected for some jobs and to achieve some uncommon and unique results and on companies. I guess Linux and open source knowledge get you prepared for today activities. Everybody that works with technology has sometimes somehow to understand about network and to understand about operating systems. And you studying Linux, you need to know that you is obligated to understand it more.
Thank you. I totally agree because this is where our world is transitioning to, more IT focus and heavily Linux focus. When you have Microsoft that's wanting to play nice with Linux in the sandbox, says a lot, right?
Right.
So, what advice would you give a person who's interested in taking this LPIC 3 exam, particularly focusing in security?
Okay. First advice: study hard. Study about the basic concept, for example, network and operational systems. That is the most part of it. You can't understand a IP tables file, for example, if you can't understand network. You can't understand hardening in a host, hardening a Linux box if you can't understand Linux operational system itself. Like someone says once, when you secure, you have to secure something. You can't be secure. You have to secure network, secure operation system. So you need to know network. You need to know operational systems. And another golden tip for at least for me was be practical. Use your family as customers. Use yourself as customer. Use someone as customer. Be practical on it. Uh, yeah, you read a book and you learn something. But if you can practice that, the things that read in a book would be a lot better.
Great. Practical experience. Great.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. And use your family as well as data.
Yes.
Yes.
Mom will get bits.
Yep. Hey, and it's free, right? Free practice.
Yeah,
Why
no
not?
problem.
Great. So, what blogs or podcasts or online forums do you monitor to keep your Linux skills current?
I'm using a lot Linux magazines, news for international magazine, and Brazil, here in Brazil we have a Linux magazine as well. I'm following some LinkedIn profiles for Debian, Red Hat, Susan, and Oracle that are I guess, the top of a head companies for Linux, and some others like can I say customer oriented or company not company oriented blogs like Linux Today and Slash Dots, for example.
Great. What is the name of the Brazilian magazine that you mentioned a
Linux
little bit?
Magazine.
Oh, Linux Magazine. Okay, great.
Yeah,
Great, great, great. So, do you feel in the cybersecurity world that knowing Linux is essential?
absolutely yes.
Why?
Because, like I said, the most of the threats about cybersecurity came from network and came for to exploit on operational system. So when you know Linux, when you master Linux, you have to master this network. You have to master an operational system. Uh, some others approach that are Linux are primarily selected support mission critical environment. So you need to understand it before you can protect it. How can you protect your example ACIP environment that runs in Linux or Oracle Linux, for example, if you can know Linux, if you can't understand Linux? Linux is also always used as platform for security tools like firewalls, like vulnerability management softwares, like penetration testing kits. So you need to know Linux to get, at my opinion, a job done for cybersecurity.
Great. What are some of at work? Well, if you can, or just in general, what is a Linux distribution that you often use for security wise? I know there's like Kali out there. There's Remix.
Yes. For my server, my personal servers, I'm using Debian.
Okay.
I really like about Debian stability. Uh, and for offensive security initiatives like vulnerability management and penetration testing, we can use a lot of Kali, a lot of others softwares, virtual appliance that we getting today, like OpenVAS virtual appliance. Like it's not Linux, but it use the same concept that it's. I use a lot of pfSense appliance, virtual appliance. It's based on the BSD, but it's quite an interesting idea about how to use a BSD or how to use a Unix system.
Great, great. So, what is next for you, Bruno, in the realm of Linux certifications?
I don't quite think about that yet. I guess about Linux certification, I was thinking to understand and to study a little more for a commercial version of certification, like Red Hat, for example. LPI does not intend to be directional for one distribution. LPI idea is to get some person to get understand about any Linux distribution. So when you get a certification for API, you are able to operate in Red Hat, a CentOS, a Debian, a SUSE, a Slackware. But for commercial initiatives to be practical, most of the companies are questioning about Red Hat certification as well. RHCA.
Okay. So, where do you see Linux in 5 years from now?
A lot bigger. Back there, when I started to study Linux, Microsoft doesn't give a shit for Linux. They said that Linux is a student system, is not for companies and so on. And today they recognize it, Linux. Today they use Linux.
Yeah.
Today they create initiatives with Linux. For example, recently we get a publication from Microsoft that they created SQL servers, MS SQL servers to run on Linux. So that is an example. That is a situation that Linux is getting bigger. Linux is getting important. other Unix-based operational systems are getting lower preference, like example HP UX systems, AIX systems are getting lower preference so to open source initiatives like Red Hat, like SUSE servers, or even Ubuntu servers.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Linux is taking over the world too, especially with like the Internet of Things coming out.
Yes,
Prime example:
sure.
closed sources are using
Yes,
Linux. So
exactly.
yeah,
Amazon uses Linux.
yes.
Red Hat, of course, uses Linux. IBM, I think so. IBM Cloud Service uses Linux. Oracle Cloud Services uses Linux. So I don't know why someone doesn't use it.
I agree. I agree. And let's not forget the biggest tech giant right now, Apple, uses Linux,
Yes,
you know.
exactly.
Great. So thank you so much, Bruno. It's been a
Thank
pleasure
you, Tiffany.
speaking with you. And I look forward to speaking with you in the future about what you're doing in network security.
Okay, sure. Be my guest.